Sure. Well, first of all, the good news, we're starting from a different place than we did last time around, in that the governor has indicated he hopes to prioritize K through 12. And I hope today I kind of laid out, I think, the moral imperative around our funding issues and how we really need to focus on lifting all kids up. And, you know, whether it's, I know we will be making requests around mental health issues. I know we'll be asking for additional money as it relates to the per pupil categorical aid, but any aid that we ask for an increase, it's my belief that it'll be steeped in the issue of we have to make sure that all kids in the state of Wisconsin get a chance. Now, of course, I'm certain that the next question will be, so where's the money going to come from? And as I said before, I believe that the governor has signaled that his support of K through 12. I think we have data to support issues around equity, around teacher pay, around all sorts of things that are troubling in our system, and we're going to continue to take that argument to the legislature and the people of the state. I'm absolutely jazzed, and I mentioned this briefly, but I probably should have talked about it even more. The number of groups across the state of Wisconsin that have appeared out of no place, to be honest with you, none of it's been driven by us, that are really concerned about their schools. They're passing referendums. They're frustrated with legislators around this issue. So I think it's not just going to be me kind of talking against the wind. It'll be local people who vote talking the same message.
Tell us a little bit about the initiative to help the rural districts attract and retain teachers.
Yeah, that's something that we're just developing right now. What I anticipate it'll look like by the time we submit it in November is that we will have anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 available to different school districts, and it'll likely be based on the sparsity group of schools that have access to that. If they have to meet a contractual competitor, that they can do it, or if they don't want somebody to leave, maybe they can provide those resources to have that teacher be a teacher leader. The bottom line is we can't just sit back and say, oh, okay, this the movement of teachers to more affluent school districts, and it's okay for those school districts that they left. I mean, that just isn't fair. If I had a magic wand, I would suggest that Major League Baseball should be our analogy here, in that the New York Giants pay a luxury tax to the Milwaukee Brewers so that they can compete. The same should hold true here. The state of Wisconsin should, this is my luxury tax, frankly, is to provide a small amount of money to allow school districts to compete for those one or two teachers that they're about to lose.
So it'd be $5,000 to $10,000 per district, and they could turn that towards keeping maybe one or two teachers.
Right, that's the best we can do now. I mean, I'd love to be able to say, here's, $20 million to increase your salary schedule so you don't lose them. But if I can level the playing field in any small way, that's what we're going to do. The starting place.
Going back to, you mentioned the referendum that passed, but I guess what's your message to the folks who voted no on those referendums and who feel the need, whether in their local districts or big picture statewide, to hold the line on property taxes?
Yeah, well, and I can appreciate that frustration, and that's taken out with no votes, but 80% of the districts have been successful recently. My message to them is that if you're frustrated about your school districts asking you to tax locally, that you should visit with your state representatives who have helped to cause this situation. I mean, it's not a lot different than our in our higher education institutions is that you can kind of back off of state support so long, assuming that the locals are going to pay. And if they don't pay, you have kids that are going to school districts that aren't getting the same fair shot that that other school districts are getting. And that's just inherently unfair to just say, well, that's life. I don't accept that.
How many districts would get this luxury tax money?
It would be the number of school districts that are part of our, what's sparsity aid, thank you. And I think it's about 160 or so school districts. And sparsity aid is determined by the sparseness of the population, but also the number of kids in the school district. So I would anticipate that's a good place to start because they're the ones that are struggling the most.
You mentioned in your speech that people need to stop vilifying teachers.
Yeah.
What kind of, do you have any examples of people actually vilifying teachers?
Oh, absolutely. The discussions statewide is, well, a small example. Am I a supporter of our accountability system? Yes. And when school districts are maybe not achieving at the level that the people would like to have it achieved, it automatically gets pushed down to the teachers. I mean, we're in a high-stakes arena. When things don't go well locally, teachers feel it. They feel it all the time. And so I'm hopeful, and legislators and other policymakers can always do, not always do it, but that's part and parcel of what happens when we demean public education. We're putting a marker on the back. When I talk to university kids, as I talked about, I haven't came across one in 7 years that I eat lunch with at the Board of Regents meetings, saying they want to be a teacher, and I'll ask why. And this is my bias, but this is essentially what they're saying is, we don't want to work 30 years with a target on our back, locally or statewide. So, and to me, that's what's easy about this. You know, we can talk glowingly about the welders of the state and other professional nurses, others that are great workers and important to our economy and important to our value of life. But when it comes to teachers, we just kind of back off that.
So you're saying that who's actually doing, you seem to be dancing around Act 10. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, Act 10's a long time ago. That's history. Did it start? Was that a bad time for teachers? Hell yes. But the dancing around it is not where I.
Is that what you're referring to?
No.
Since Act 10,
No.
the Republican administration has been bashing teachers?
This is a national issue, and it's a national issue, and whether it's a Democratic state or a Republican state, in that education is absolutely in the limelight of media scrutiny and other scrutiny. How often do we hear articles when, in conversations when, say, another public servant is arrested for some issue? If it's a teacher, it's in the paper. It's in the paper, and that by that kind of public scrutiny that some of our lowest paid public servants get, I think is a disadvantage. All I'm saying is that can be changed overnight. It's free. That's my point.
Real quickly, could you summarize what you see in terms of progress that's been made at MPS? And could you even maybe assign a letter grade to how MPS has been doing the last couple of years?
I think, well, letter grade I won't do, but I will say there's progress. It's not as fast as anybody would like. There's no question about that. But we see progress at the high school level. We see progress in some of their elementary grades, but it's real slow. And I think it's really critical that all people in the state of Wisconsin view the successes of Milwaukee Public Schools as something we should celebrate, given the extraordinary complexity that those kids, the lives those kids live. It's just, it's difficult to be a kid in Milwaukee, and it's more difficult to be a kid in Milwaukee than many other places in the state. Is that an excuse? Absolutely not, but we have to put it in context. But yeah, I think I think Darian Driver as superintendent is doing a great job. And we look forward to working with her in this next budget to make sure that she has the tools necessary to continue to do that good job.
Any thoughts on the Assembly GOP agenda that came out last week?
Yeah, I'm pleased that there are some pieces that target public education. Whether the computer piece is something that is good or bad is we need to see the details. But the fact of the matter is, there are some pieces that gave me hope that the Assembly Republicans are thinking about public education maybe a little differently than they have in the past. I know they're supportive of the issue of addressing mental health issues in the state, and I think that's something that frankly will have bipartisan support in both chambers. The governor's been big on that issue too, so I'm hopeful that they'll not only look at our initiatives there, but others within state government, Department of Health, looking at Medicaid reimbursements and children's and families and so on. So it's a good starting place. We need details, and we'll fight the good fight. I mean, I believe that we will. I think the legislature will follow the governor's lead on thinking that K through 12 education is a priority, and so the devil's in the details on how much a priority that is.
A minute ago, you were talking about Act 10.
Mm-hmm.
The Wisconsin Education Association Council is selling its land here in town, its buildings. Do you have any comment on that, on the state of kind of meetings at teacher unions in the state right now?
I mean, I'm not a real estate person, but I think the WEAC is doing as best they can to support the teachers that are their members, and they still have quite a few members as I talk to members across the state. So there's still a group that I support their work, and a lot of their work nowadays isn't around issues necessarily of political might, but it's around professional development and making teachers, helping those teachers be the best they can be. So I'm supportive of their work in that area. I think the building's been on the market since Act 10, so it's not a surprise that they're selling it, or it's on the market.
In terms of MTI and them losing funding, losing members,
Mm-hmm.
does that worry you at all with those institutions kind of losing ground?
And I'm not sure they are losing members. From what I remember seeing is that, reading the newspaper, assuming this is accurate, that saying MTI as an example, they're still relatively robust as far as the number of people that are voluntarily joining their association. But no, it is what it is, and I support those organizations in making sure that helping their teachers be the best professionals they can be. Okay.
Anybody else? We good?
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.